Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode of the Working in Hockey podcast. I'm your host, Nick Bowens, and today I'm excited to be joined by Kody Degenstien, currently the video coach and team services manager, one of the most requested roles that you guys have been asking for me to talk to. Kody, how you doing?
Good, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. Not many complaints when you get to be in Florida every day, that's for sure.
Absolutely. So you're down there in Florida, you're working with the Everblades, three-peaters, three-time Kelly Cup champions. How's the culture down there? How's it been settling in? I know you've been there for a few months now.
It's been good. You can definitely see with all our preparation the last month since I've been here has been, getting ready to hopefully make it four. We got a lot of good guys coming in, so just
Yeah.
doing what we can to keep building and make sure that we get better every day.
Awesome. No, and I know you've had a lot of different cool roles along your journey to end up here in your hockey journey. But I want to start off with this role. Like I said, you've been in it for a couple months now, video coach and team services manager. Really two of the coolest roles in my opinion, and you got to combine it here. So talk to the people about your day-to-day, what you're doing, getting ready for the season, and how things will look once puck drop happens.
Yeah, so for the biggest thing for the team services role, like being getting all the hotels and stuff booked, all the meals for when we're on the road, that was huge. Like I think I've started that since day one, obviously, because you don't want to be worrying about that as the time gets closer. So I think yesterday I finished my final hotel, so
Nice.
fingers crossed we have no issues with that rolling through the season. And then this year I took on an immigration. I'm helping our HR lady do the immigration with the players, so that's been new for me. Obviously, I had to go through the immigration process myself as well, so I got both ends of the story on that one. And then player apartments and stuff like that, like getting those all furnished and whatnot. And then obviously texting guys to make sure when they come in, I got the apartment ready for them and they have no snags, make their life as easy as possible so they can go on the ice and get the job done. And then, yeah, kind of once the season gets rolling, a lot of the team services stuff kind of is over for me. I guess obviously on the road, make sure the hotels are ready, make sure guys have keys. So when we show up at hotels, you can kind of just jump in and you don't have to sit for 40 minutes in the lobby. Everybody's got their keys. Everybody can be in their beds right away. And then, yeah, once the season gets rolling, just a lot of the video side and then anything the coaches need me for on the day to day. Then I guess obviously if the players have any issues, just to help them out on that side for sure.
No, that's awesome. And I think, like I said, very, very interesting roles and you get to combine both of them. And it's interesting that, a lot of the planning and kind of execution of the hotels, the travel, et cetera, done ahead of the season. So then you'll shift gears to focus more on the video. What is the travel like for the guys in the ECHL? Are we doing mostly bus? Are we doing planes? Are you involved with booking that? Or how does that all work?
Yeah, so we are lucky here. Johnny, our equipment manager, he does the flights and the busing, so thankfully I don't have to add that to my repertoire of things to do. But we fly to obviously the teams that are a little too far to bus to, but we bus to Jacksonville, Orlando, Savannah, a couple of
Cool.
those places, and then a lot of the other ones we'll just fly into Atlanta and then connect from there and go on. But I'm looking forward to the travel this year as opposed to last year because last year we were in Newfoundland. We were flying everywhere, and flying into Newfoundland is not easy. So you take what flights you can get. So the amount of times we got into our beds at 4 a.m. was far more than I enjoyed. But again, it's pro hockey, and now that I can say I've done that travel, I think from here on out we should be smooth sailing, hopefully.
Yeah, no, that's a great perspective playing or being with the Newfoundland Growlers there. It's just about the furthest travel you can have for any team in pro sports there. It's very up there, and like you said, not the easiest or most frequent number of flights in and out of there. So I do want to touch on that role there. Obviously, it was a bit of an interesting season last year. You were there as the video coach. Talk to me about your role there, what you were able to take on, and working with the guys there.
Yeah, so I kind of, like I said to you before the interview there, I finished up an internship I guess a hockey ops assistant program with London there, and kind of moved home thinking that a CHL job would open up, and then life kind of didn't go my way. So I started out as coaching U17 AAA in Red Deer with one of my buddies there, and got a couple months into the season there, and then Newfoundland reached out, and I think in the span of probably a week, I was on the road there, and quick turnaround of accepting the job and then packing everything I own into 3 or 4 suitcases and then jumping on a plane. So, and I think it's funny too, like most jobs you get in and you get a little bit of grace period. You get a couple weeks to get your feet wet. And there I landed on the Thursday and we played on the Friday. So I, I was right in the fire, but the coaching staff was awesome. Like the first weekend we played, it was just kind of a learning curve of just getting used to each other. So it wasn't too nerve wracking. And then yeah, we got through that and just kind of. I always joke too that I didn't have it very easy the first few weeks because we were at home day after I was there for 3 days, and then the Tuesday we left on the road for 3.5 weeks. So the first month and a half on the job there, I pretty much got the full season experience. But yeah, definitely kind of took on a couple hockey ops things. Like I did the scheduling for the team, sent that out, and handed out per diem for the guys when we were at the airport. Made sure they got their boarding passes, all the fun things. Just because I was the only one traveling, and then as the year went along, took on a few more things. Like after road games, I'd get the guys food and stuff like that. But yeah, for the most part, just video, pre-scouting every team we played. Sometimes one game, sometimes 2 games, depending on when we played them most recently. A lot of the time, looking at video of guys that are on waivers or guys that were offered in trades to see if they're going to help us get better, and then obviously live tagging the game, which is funny. You have guys sit down, like some of our scratches last year would come sit in and they'd watch you do it and they'd be like, "Oh, that's a lot more than I thought you did." And it's like, yeah, it's you're doing 300 plus clips a period. Like it's not as easy. It's not me hitting 2 buttons every now and again. Like it's a lot more than they think it is. So it's kind of funny when you see them get their eyes opened by that. But yeah, so then there was that, and then just here and there, like I was on the ice for practices, kind of a glorified puck pusher, motivational guy, but it's fun being on the ice with pro guys. And obviously, like there's some times where the head coach has them down and you're kind of out there to just keep the guys loose. And I think they appreciate that. Like, I think it's having those guys out there to keep the spirits high. I think that's important, especially when you're grinding 3 games in 3 days or 7 games in 10 days. Like, you need the little bit of boost of positivity when you can get it. But yeah, so that was my year. And then 6 games left in the year. We unfortunately got the boot from the league. Didn't get a chance to play in the playoffs. Went to Toronto for a couple weeks and just kind of helped the Marlies out with just our AHL contracted guys. And that was an awesome experience. Got to be along for their playoff push, and then went home for the summer and just right back to the drawing board of trying to find a new home for the following season.
Yeah, no, it seems like a very positive experience overall, though, getting to touch on so many different areas of the team, getting to go out on the ice with the guys, like all those little things that I'm sure helped build your skill set, your network, etc. And I think the in-game stuff is fascinating. You touched on kind of the live tagging and up to 300 clips there in a game. That's crazy. I think a lot of people wouldn't expect that or know that. Talk to me a little bit more about what you're looking for, what you're tagging or clipping in games, and what platform you using or have you used with different teams?
Yeah, so I learned it in London. I learned Catapult just from our video coach, Tom Black. He's with the Belleville Senators now in the AHL. So he's a awesome guy to get the starting foundation from. And then kind of learned it from Catapult support in Newfoundland just because I had very minimal experience and kind of got thrown into the fire. So I spent a little bit of time on some sessions, training sessions with them. But yeah, and then with Brock there, we just used Instat, which a lot of teams will use, but you don't live tag on that. So kind of Newfoundland was my first full experience of live tagging, so that was a lot. And then over the summer, I just learned. I got a demo on my Mac just for Huddle and like sports code, so I was learning that in the summer just because a lot of teams are switching over to that. So the more experience you have in the end, the better. But yeah, so I think Catapult's what I've used since I've been in pros now, and it's good. It's a good software. All their help people are really good.
Yeah.
Like they're pretty quick at getting back to you. I know even the higher up guys, if you have problems, you go to them and they get it resolved as quick as possible. Like we needed a new server here, and I think I ordered it yesterday, and I ordered it Wednesday, sorry, and it's here today. So they're pretty quick turnaround when you need things, which is nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in game, a lot of it, it's not straightforward. And it also depends on the team. Like certain coaches will look for certain things, and like I joke with people. Like I did a hockey news interview last Friday, I think, or sometime last week, and I kind of said it's funny that you don't see it as much from other video coaches. You get it, but it's like people think, oh yeah, like everything you do is important, and it's like, well, it is, but I'll go through a game and I'll have 250 to 300 clips a period, and then we'll do a team video the next day, and there's 25 of them. So 25 of my 900 clips I made are getting used. So it's like a lot of my work just doesn't get used. So people are like, oh, that must upset you. And it's like, no, it's it would make my job a lot harder if I had to watch the game and I had to key in on those 25 things. Like I think doing the 900 is easier because then it's like now I give them a chance to pick out what they want, and I know I didn't miss anything. Whereas if I had to do just the 25, I gotta kind of be pretty dialed in, and when key things happen, grab those out. But yeah, you do a lot like breakouts, turnovers, and then kind of defensive zone play, O zone play, neutral zone, scoring chances, shots against, like goalie touches. Um, and that depends too on who your goalie is. Like we had one goalie last year in Newfoundland who always played the puck, so you had more goalie touches in those games than the other guys. But yeah, it's different on the depending on the coach, but it's basically everything that happens in the game is a clip in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
And then I made a joke. I was home in Edmonton for the Oilers playoff run, and um, got to enjoy that until they smashed my heart into 1,000 pieces at the end. But that was like the first hockey game I had been to as a fan in quite a while. So it's funny that people are like, "Oh, well, you work in pro hockey. You're watching hockey games every day," and it's like, "Well, I am, but I'm not at the same time." Like you're watching it in such a different aspect. You're not watching it as a fan. Like people go to rinks and like you'll go to watch a game as a fan and you're going to enjoy it. Like you're going to have drinks with your friends and see guys hit guys and hopefully watch a guy fight somebody. Whereas I'm watching to see if X, Y, and Z are happening, or if so and so is doing what we told him not to do all week.
Yeah.
So it's like I'm watching the game, but I'm also watching 7,000 things in the game, so I'm not really watching the game. There's
Yeah.
times where, after the game, my parents are in Alberta, so we got a little bit of a time change in a lot of spots, and we'll be on the phone, and my dad will be like, "Oh, what's the final score?" And in my head, I'm like, I don't know. Like I don't remember. I gotta sit there for a minute and think back. So it's like, yeah, I was there. I was at the game. I was in the rink. I was watching it on my computer, but I don't. I know if we won or lost, but I couldn't tell you the score, and I probably couldn't tell you who scored half the time.
Yeah, no, that's very funny. It's a totally different lens when you're in it, right? And especially like you say, watching on video, you're so focused on the clips and hitting the right buttons and getting everything lined up that, yeah, I think a lot of people would echo that. I don't know what the score was or who got him, but I can tell you who was out of position here or who was offside, maybe.
Yeah.
But no, that's super interesting. And you touched on there the role with the London Knights. Again, the Growlers one ended a little bit messy there. I'd say that the Knights. probably the exact opposite of messy. The gold standard of CHL teams, major junior teams, of junior hockey in general. Talk to me about that role, your internship with the London Knights, and what you're able to pick up and learn from the team of experts that they have in the building.
Yeah, so I started out, I did my degree in sport management at Brock, and in the fourth year, well, I guess in my case, third year, because I finished a year early, but your last year there, you do an internship, and you grow up as a hockey fan watching Major Junior, and you're lying to yourself if you don't say that the London Knights are one of the best teams in history. So I reached out to them and just kind of said, hey, like I know it's in the summer, you probably don't have anything hockey related, but if there is anything, like don't hesitate to reach out. And I went there in season. I went and met their business manager, Alex Brown, and just kind of met him before the game. And it just so happened that one of their game day interns was gone that day. And he was like, hey, like I know you came to watch the game and just meet me. He said, but do you mind helping them out? And I said, yeah, no problem. Um, Obviously trying to make a good impression, but at
Yeah.
the same time, I've watched enough hockey games. Yeah, so I helped them out that day. That was kind of cool. Got to go on the ice and set their castle up. That was interesting. Something I'm glad I did not have to do ever again after that. And then kind of ran through that summer as just a business intern. Um, that was interesting. Obviously, applied a lot of the things you learned at Brock. It's kind of funny. I joke with people that I could do sports sponsorship if I worked for a team like that because you're shooting fish in a barrel.
Yeah.
You have a sponsorship open up, the first company who calls, like, yeah, I'm in. I don't care what it costs, I'm in. Easy. But yeah, kind of went through that, and summer was kind of winding down, and at that point I wasn't too sure what the plan was, and I had reached out to Sean Sutter, was the assistant GM in Red Deer at the time, which is about 30 minutes from where I'm from. So I kind of was hoping to get on with them as a hockey ops assistant or hockey ops intern or something for that season. And
Yeah.
the assistant GM in London, Rob Simpson, kind of came into my office and said, hey, like I heard you reached out to Sean just because they're really close. And he said, like, is there a job they have that you would like me to, recommend you for, or, anything that I can help you with? And then I kind of just talked to him and said, yeah, like I was just looking to see what they had hockey ops wise for next year. Like I know that's where I want to be. And the CHL for me was the next step up from U Sports. And he kind of just, we sat down in his office, and then he kind of said to me, like, like I've heard great things from everybody here. Like I've seen what you've done firsthand all summer. Like if you'd like to stay here, like we would love to have you. And he said, or I can reach out to Sean and see what I can do. And so I kind of went home that day and sat with my thoughts for a little bit and decided that, I was between going home or working for the London Knights. And I had been away for school for the 3 years before, played hockey away from my family for 3 years out of high school. So I was like, well, another year can't hurt. And a year of, the London Knights on your resume isn't gonna be isn't gonna be a negative for you. So I went through and did that, and it was an awesome experience. I always joke with people that you get those people on social media and that are fans of other OHL teams that are, oh, London's paying guys this, London's paying guys that. It's what, at the end of the day, the work that Mark and Dale and Rob put in, that's why they're successful. Like the stuff we do behind the scenes, like the work they put in, they're always the first guys there. Mark scouts probably more than most their scouts, and he's their GM, and he's been there for a long time. Like you don't stay that good without putting in the work they do, and that's why they're so good, and that's why people want to go there, because when you have guys that are willing to put in that much work for you, you're willing to put in that much work for them. And like you will see it in other CHL ranks, but the amount of NHL scouts and player development guys we talked to throughout that season alone, like, it's a hot spot. People know that hey, Mark and Dale got this guy. So they trust that right away. They're like, oh, he's gonna work hard. Like, it was funny. I'm not a Leafs fan by any means. I'm not a fan of Leafs fans, but when they kind of drafted Easton Cowan, everyone was like, "Oh, what are they doing?"
Yeah,
And it's like, no, you'll see what they're doing. Like, they know what they're doing. Like, and being in London that season, like, he works harder than a lot of guys. Like, he's always competing, and he might not be the biggest guy, but he's going to war every day, and he's the kind of guy you want on your team. And sure, at the time he might not have had the points, but then you look at what he did last year.
yeah,
Like, it's some people on Twitter don't realize that a lot more work goes into that than they think, but also, you know, they can trust that it's like, oh, Mark and Dale coach this guy, like
yeah,
he's got that mentality. He's perfect. He's exactly what we need, and he pushed for a spot in his first year.
yeah.
So it's as dumb as you think it was at the time, it was. He's a London Knight, and he came from that program, and he would be ready either way. And I think I'm excited to watch him this year and see if he can push for a spot on the Leafs.
Yeah, I think he's got a good shot too. And like you said, those guys, Mark and Dale, it's hard to go to an arena and not see them there. They are everywhere scouting. It doesn't matter what level, what city, everywhere these guys are scouting. And that's what you always hear about them. And like you said, that's a testament to why the Knights have been successful for so long. It's not the other stuff that people want to make it out to be. You touched on Brock University there, and obviously you attended there. You worked for the teams as well, director of hockey operations and video coach for the women's ice hockey team. Talk to me about that experience. Was that your first kind of introduction to the hockey ops side of things while you were in school?
Yeah, so I started my degree in 2019, not at the fresh age of 18 like everyone else does. So I was a bit of a seasoned veteran at that point. Yeah, and then got three-quarters of the way through my year, probably February or March, and COVID hit. So my finals and my last month or so of classes were online, and that was kind of a change, and that was definitely a bump in the road. But you get into that belief of it's okay, next year it'll be fine, and then kind of the summer goes along and everything's not fine, and then you're like, okay, well, I don't know what's gonna happen.
Yep.
Like, here's my whole idea of getting a degree and working in hockey while I'm at school, or kind of getting flushed down the toilet. And then kind of I reached out to CHL teams that year and just said, hey, like, I'm home for the year. Like, if you have anything or need any help, like, don't hesitate to reach out. Had a couple in BC, but they were like, yeah, it's not smart for us to bring you out here health wise for you and health wise for everybody here. And I totally
Yep.
understood that. Obviously, people's health comes first. I'm not going to go do something like that to put other people at risk. So I obviously understood that. Kind of went through that year basically doing online classes and playing golf every day. So, worst
Yeah.
ways to attend school, I'm
It's a good
sure.
way to live.
Yeah. Yeah, and then kind of in my third year, I was coming back, and I kind of knew that I wanted to be in hockey. I mean, I played till I was 21. I helped coach my first year after playing, and kind of knew I wanted to be in hockey. And so I reached out to the men's and women's team, and I didn't hear anything back from the men's team. So, and I reached out to the women's team at the same time as the men's team, and head coach Margot Page got back to me immediately, like within probably an hour or two of sending the email, and we jumped on a Zoom and we clicked immediately. Like, it's, you make a joke that, well, you'll hear everybody in pro hockey will tell you it. It's so important, and I guess it's funny that I didn't know it that back then as much as I do now. But it's so important to work with people that you enjoy and you can spend time with, because you're with them more than you're with your own family. So I didn't know it as much then as I do now, but we clicked right away, Margot and I, and we were on the same page, and I kind of could tell that she's got my best interest in hand, and I can go here and I can develop and I can learn. So the original plan was kind of just to go in as a hockey ops guy, and then just kind of grow as the year went on. And then our video coach at the time, he was a video coach and assistant coach, Josh Mallory. He got the job with the Edmonton Oil Kings, and I had met with him earlier in the summer just to kind of get on the same page with him. And then yeah, he reached out to me and he was like, "Hey, I got the Oil Kings job. Like, I think it's smart for you to reach out and run the video." So I reached out with Margot and kind of let her know, like, "Hey, like I know Josh is gone. I don't want you to have to go through finding someone else. Like, I'd love to help on that aspect too."
Nice.
And so kind of again another through the fire experience, but
Yeah.
yeah, jumped into that. And as the year went along, like I was kind of skeptical on video at the start. Like anyone will tell you, it doesn't, when you're jumping into it, it doesn't seem too thrilling. But once you kind of go along and you learn, like how much it can help, and you can sit down with someone and show them clips and they can understand, like, hey, that is what I did wrong. Like, awesome.
Yeah.
Like, you can sit there and think, I'm not playing good. And then I could show you 3 clips of like, hey, change this and life's fine.
Yeah.
So then it's like you see like the impact it can make, and then you're like, okay, like awesome. And then I think at that point, it was, I kind of learned as time went along that I was like, hey, I am kind of good at this, because it's like I've always understood technology and I've always loved to coach, and I love to learn. That's another important thing that I tell anybody I talk to is don't ever stop learning, because the game's never going to stay stagnant. It's never going to be, the exact same. And that's why Mark and Dale are so successful, is because they don't ever stop learning. And you'll see the head coaches that have been in the game forever that die out. It's because they don't keep learning. They rest on, oh, I've done this forever. Game's not the same anymore. So that's huge. But yeah, I kept learning throughout the year, and then we went on a storybook run. We ended up winning the OE which was crazy. We kind of got into the first round and won that one, and we were supposed to play Waterloo in the second round, and they got upset. And kind of once that happened, we were like, all right, like we got a shot, because the team that upset them we hadn't lost to all year. So we were like, okay, like we might have a chance. And we won that one. We weren't even probably supposed to beat Guelph in the first round. They had a goalie that played on the Italian national team, and she was lights out all year. Like I think we might have scored on her once. She might have shut us out 2 times. So going into playoffs, we were like, yeah, we're in trouble. But yeah, we managed to beat them in round 1, and then got Western in round 2 because they upset Waterloo and knocked them off. And then kind of we went into the OUA final against a team that had been ranked all year, and kind of at that point you're playing with the house money because you've already made nationals, and doesn't really matter if you win or lose. But we kind of still went into that game with the attitude of, we're not here to get second place, we're not here to win a silver medal. And we came out on top, which I think that just fueled my drive to be in hockey even more. Like standing on the ice with the trophy at the end of the year it's a feeling that's hard to replicate for sure. So that definitely drives me a lot, and I'm excited for the chance this year to hopefully do that again. But yeah, so that was that year. And then that was kind of another fun experience team services wise, because I think we won on a Sunday, I want to say. Yeah, we won on a Sunday, drove back to Brock on Saturday, or the Sunday night from North Bay, which is about 5 hours, I think, or something around there. And then got home on the Monday. Well, we got home really early Monday morning. Then we basically had the Monday to pack and get ready, and then we left Tuesday morning for PEI for nationals. So we did that, and that was also quick turnaround of you had to get meals for a whole week. So that was a lot, and you're going into a city where you don't have an easy out of just texting the other team's coach being like, hey, what other teams eat?
Yeah.
So it's like you go in there for a whole week, you're like, oh. But thankfully we found a catering company that was awesome. They did everything. They brought food, like they brought meals, and they were awesome to us, and they made my life a breeze. And then, unfortunately fell short there. And then that kind of left a sour taste in my mouth too, of making it that far. And fallen short. So I went and came back the next year, and unfortunately, we didn't have the same luck. But I kind of added on to my title. Was director of analytics. I had about 5 guys on an analytics crew there, and
Nice.
that was another cool experience. I've always liked math, liked numbers, but I've never really dove into that as much as I did that year. And kind of having a lot of that stuff though in the year, it was like, okay, like I can understand why this is important. And then
Yeah.
once you get up to the pro level, like last year and this year, like I know earlier before I jumped on the call here, we were just in a power play meeting and kind of just setting up in a sheet that we're going to use throughout the year to kind of see what our power plays issues are and stuff like that. So again, there's more analytics and it doesn't really end. It's a
Yeah.
hit or miss thing, but yeah. So then we went through that and got through the end of that year and kind of sat down with Margot at the end of the year, and she had kind of told me from day one where she said, I'm never going to hold you back from a job opportunity. And she said, but I will tell you when I think you're ready to move on. And so we kind of sat down that summer, one of my last days at Brock, and had lunch. And she kind of said, like, I think you're ready. Like, I think you're ready to move forward. And, you know, for someone that's coached at the national level with Team Canada and played with Team Canada and accomplish as much as she has, for her to say that to you, it's just like, okay, like I am ready. I can do this. And, so then that just put wind in my sails and went through that summer, which was a grind. I had a lot of offers, but every time you'd get close, they didn't want to give a Canadian a visa and, immigration issues or, oh, we got this guy that already lives here. Like then he doesn't have to move. And, you fight through that and ride the roller coaster, and it led me to Newfoundland, and I met a ton of great guys. Like I still talk to a lot of our players. I still talk to everyone on our staff. So, I it's funny. I don't even know how to summarize it, but it's just like everything happens for a reason. Like I went there and I met those people and I had that experience, and so all those no's led me to where I was supposed to be. And Newfoundland ending the way that it did, as much as I would love to be there this year. Like I talked to guys, on our staff from last year and said, I'd love to be with you guys
For
this
sure.
year, but when it leads me to the 3-time Kelly Cup champions,
Works out.
you can't be too upset about it when it's going to be minus 30 and snowing in Canada, and I can sit by my pool. I won't be too upset.
No, absolutely. I think that's great perspective, and I think a lot of great experience and advice through that as well. To trying different things and being able to pick up and learn some of the analytics that you're now able to apply through Power Play and other things with your current video role. You're still doing video, you're still doing what you like, but learning those analytics skills and other things along the way is super important and helps kind of build that skill set. Always wrap things up here with some advice. So, Kody, what best career advice could you pass on to Brock students like you were, or young professionals, or recent graduates?
Yeah, I think it's funny, like in Brock, in your first year, you do a project where you reach out to someone in the sports industry, and I remember doing that myself. And um, then once you graduate, you have people reaching out to you to do it, and you're like, not even that important. But okay, so yeah, I think honestly, just as much as people try to put you down and tell you that working in hockey is impossible, it's not impossible.
Yeah,
It's not easy. Like you're not gonna apply and it's not like a normal job where you apply and like, oh my God, yeah, awesome. It's not easy. You're gonna get a lot of no's. I've had more than I would like to admit, honestly, but you just gotta keep grinding. You gotta believe in yourself, and you can't let anyone stand between you and your dreams. If you want to work in hockey, do whatever you can. If you, like I tell a lot of people too, the experience in sport is, especially on the business side, maybe not as much on my side, the hockey ops and coaching side, but on the business side, if you go work business for an MLB team or a NFL team, that experience translates.
100%.
Like if you go work for the Buffalo Bills for 3 years as a salesperson, and then the Buffalo Sabres have a job opening. It's like, oh, this guy's worked in pro sports, or this guy or this girl. And, it doesn't matter the sport, but I also think you got to be willing to learn. Like, even if you're not getting a job, got to think like, okay, what can I do to make myself better? What can I do to make myself more desirable? Like, what can I add to my resume that when I apply, people are like, yeah, that's the one. And then another big one too, like I talked with a guy, he was a younger guy, he went to Brock as well. I talked to him yesterday. He's a video coach in Trois-Rivières now, and he kind of just asked me what I would recommend for him. And I just kind of told him, like, don't be above anything.
Yep.
Like, if your coach asks you, hey, can you go do this? Might not be what you want to do. But at the end of the day, if you can show them, I'm willing to do whatever it takes, that goes a long way.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the assistant coaches when I was at Brock, he basically kind of told me, he's like, don't ever be above anything, because all the experience is going to help you in the end.
Yeah.
And, I've talked to a lot of, NHL video guys and AHL video guys, and the AHL video guys still do team services. So they're like, yeah, the more team services and stuff you can learn, the better.
Yep.
And, once you get to the NHL, you might not do the team services anymore. But then if you wake up one day and you're like, I don't want to be a video coach anymore, you can go to your front office and be like, hey, like, if a hockey ops job or a team services job comes open,
Yep.
like, I would love to be considered for it. And you've got that experience. And I think too, obviously I've watched a lot of your interviews, and like I said before, obviously look at your newsletter and stuff like that. Like, LinkedIn is huge. Teamwork Online, I know, is awesome for that as well. But LinkedIn, Indeed, like your website and your newsletter that you put out. And then if you are looking to get into video coaching, Pro Hockey Video Coaches on Twitter, Instagram, and I think they have a newsletter now. They're awesome. Ian
Yep.
is the guy that runs that. He's now the assistant video coach in Vancouver. I can't recommend him more. He's been huge for my development, and he's been huge for a lot of guys. But yeah, networking is so important. Going into my first year at Brock, I think I went to a Hamilton Bulldogs conference, and there was like 4 or 5 speakers there, and a young naive kid, and I was like, this is dumb. Like, how are these people ever going to help me in the end?
Yeah.
And then you go along in school, and you're like, yeah, like I got to reach out to people, like. And now it's funny, like, throughout the summer, like, I've talked to so many video coaches and so many guys in hockey where, the minute jobs came open, they were like, hey, like, so-and-so is hiring. Or, like, I know a guy, he's the assistant video coach in Calgary, and he was like, hey, our AHL team needs a guy. So it's just, like, the amount of people I've talked to, like, and they have my back now, and, like, it's funny, I joke that it's like video coaches are their own little army.
Yeah.
When my job got posted, like, all the video coaches I know texted me and said, congratulations, like, that's awesome. But yeah, they were super helpful to me, and networking it's huge because you can have people that can recommend you for jobs and can tell you when things are open, but can also learn. Like, that's huge. Like, even from me to you, right? We're not in the same sport industry, but I can learn things from you and the way you do things that can help me. Maybe not even as a professional, but as a human.
Yep.
And I think one last one too that's huge is just be a good person, because like I said earlier, it's different in, like, the business side, because you're a 9 to 5, you're in office, you go home and you don't spend weekends with each other. You might spend game days, but like, if you're in a hockey ops role and you're not a good human being, you're not going to cut it, because no one's going to want to spend time with you. Like, you are on the road with the team, you're at the rink at 7 a.m. until God knows when. You're on the road, you're on the bus, you're on the plane, you're in the hotel, you're at team events. Like, if you're not a good person, they don't want you, because they got to spend all that time with you. So just be a genuine person, just be kind, be nice, be respectful, and then just be open to feedback. Like, don't get defensive when someone's like, oh, like you did this wrong, or hey, I think you could do this differently. Learn from it.
Yeah.
You're allowed to stick to your guns too, but be open to feedback and be open to criticism, because that's how you learn and develop. And no one's perfect. You can try to be all you want, but take feedback and take criticism with a grain of salt and learn from it and become better. And yeah, just reach out to anyone for sure. And like anyone out there that wants to get into team services or video coaching, definitely you can reach out to me on LinkedIn or Twitter or anything like that. Like if you need any kind of advice or any kind of help, or you just want to pick my brain, I'm always here. I'm always open. I gotta, probably for the rest of my life, I gotta be open to that, because so many people have been open to me. And, as someone that didn't play pro hockey, you take all the help you can get. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, I'm here for anybody that needs advice or needs any sort of feedback. Like you can reach out to me at any time, and I'll gladly point you in the right direction and do the best I can.
No, that's awesome. That's very much appreciated, first of all, and a great answer as well. I think there's a lot of tangible things that people can take away from that answer, and continue to reach out to people, be a good person, all the above that you mentioned there. This has been awesome, Kody. Like he said, guys, be sure to reach out to him if you have any questions on the video side of things or the team services side of things. Kody, can't thank you enough for your time here today, man.
Yeah, man, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. If you need anything in the future, maybe if I run into something new in the career path, you need another interview, you let me know.
Absolutely. We will do that. Guys, be sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you on next week's episode of the Working in Hockey podcast.